Are you hiring? With Indeed, you can post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on your short list of qualified candidates using an online dashboard. Get started today at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast.
This is the best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Golic and Wingo. Glad you're with us. Mike Golic Jr., not Mike Golic, Trey Wingo here. How are we, boys?
Golic. Again,
Yeah.
it's not Golic.
Golic?
You're Mike Ryan, the producer of Stugatz and Le Batard and that whole thing down there. It says Golic.
I like Golic. It sounds better.
But it's not Golic.
But it's more Golic.
I just like that you got the name of their show right. It's the Stugatz Show featuring Dan.
That's exactly
Le Batard.
right. It's where I went, yeah.
But, right, don't you feel like Golic sounds like a good James Bond
I like
villain?
calling my name the way it was Golic. Wingo. Don't do that.
That's terrible.
Wingo.
No, but see, the each makes it like you got an edge.
I want it like Wingo, like the Geaux.
I am Wingo.
Like it's spelled like the
Louisiana Wingos.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
There you go. Right.
The Louisiana Wingos?
The
there
fine
you go.
Louisiana Wingos.
There you go.
The Louisiana Wingos.
I just think you should think about this because you guys would be the perfect Bond villain. 007, we must get rid of Golic.
I'd like to be a villain in a movie.
I'd like to be a Bond villain, especially with the new the Idris Elba. Now that he's officially James Bond.
He is. I always
Idris?
called it Idris.
Is it Idris?
or Idris?
Whatever.
Well, we'll get into.
Hey.
Brett's our researcher here today, so give it up.
Brett finally
First
decides
appearance.
to show up for work again the first time.
Idris Elba. Idris Elba.
It's Idris.
Come on.
It's
Idris.
Idris.
I think we know why Brett showed up. It's Wednesday and it's Bretymology.
Bretymology.
I mean,
that is correct.
literally, just a contract killer at this point. Like he shows up for his one segment, and then for the rest of the week can't be bothered.
By the way, back to Idris. Phenomenal pick.
Yeah.
I love the guy.
Why do we wait so long to do this?
I love that dude. So I think it's a great pick. But I want to be a villain. I've said it many times. I want to be a villain in a movie and I want to be killed. I want to be blown up, beheaded, something grotesque.
I want to lit on fire.
Maybe what happened to the MMA guy. I want to drill in my
Listen,
pants.
we are going to tell you why you should never put power tools in your pocket today.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's a little tease, but I think you can kind of understand where that one's going to go.
Yes, and it's not in a nice place.
No, it's not. No.
I got one of our people that works on the show texted me this story. I'm like, oh, click on it. I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to know about this.
Yeah, man, when you see the picture associated with that.
There's a picture?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen the picture.
I haven't seen the picture.
We've got bloodied undergarments.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's the tease. We'll talk about it later. A power drill in a man's pocket where two became one.
What could possibly go wrong? Listen, that's better than a triple shot of espresso to get you going on this morning.
Wow.
We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You can get in touch with us, the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed at Golic and Wingo, or call in 860-506-5505. There is lots to discuss, including why you have a underwear spokesman shirtless with a tiger, which makes for a very interesting Wednesday around these here parts. Clearly, we got a lot to get to, so let's get started with what's trending. And the Yankees won in Giancarlo Stanton's homecoming, and this was the sound in Miami when Giancarlo stepped to the bat for the first time against the Marlins since being coming over and being a part of the Yankees in the offseason.
Out here is Stanton. Oh, listen to this. How wonderful. A standing ovation for Giancarlo.
He was talking about, and he's turning around and waving to everybody. He did say he never had a chance to say goodbye.
That really is a standing O.
And that, of course, on WFAN, Giancarlo went 2 for 6 with 3 strikeouts. The Yankees won the game 2-1, but Mike, there might be a bigger loss here. Aroldis Chapman had to leave the game with pain in his troublesome left knee.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that in a second. As far as Stanton, this is a team that averages in the Marlins under 10,000 people a game. So Stanton shows up and they get about 16,000 more. Was it, Brett said 26,000 at this game. So it actually sounded like a bit of a crowd instead of just family and friends clapping and you hear the echo of the clap. So good for him. I mean, that guy has meant so much to that organization. He certainly didn't ask to leave. We know of the purging that's gone on down there. So that was a nice moment there. And then, Trey, to your point of Chapman, he's had the tendonitis in his knee. He's managed it all year, but got 6 pitches in, waves to the – never good when your pitcher throws a few pitches, and then waves the manager out from the dugout, you know things can't be good.
Well, and with a guy like Chapman who comes in that relief role and is basically there to throw a handful of pitches as fast as he possibly can, usually we see him up in triple digits, average 96 for his 6 pitches. Lowest since 2013. These guys are like the engine on a drag racer where if the slightest thing is off, all of a sudden your output is affected in such a way that makes this guy a lot less effective out on the mound. So something to definitely monitor, because for all the talk about starting pitching, we knew the bullpen in this area of the Yankees pitching lineup was kind of what they were coming to rely on.
Yeah, the Yankees are now 33 games over 500 for the first time since 2011. They've won 4 in a row, and
they close the gap.
Breaking news: the Red Sox have lost 3 in a row thanks to your Cleveland Indians.
Woo!
The lead is down to 8. Anything could. No, the Red Sox.
The story lost in all of this is the fact that my Cleveland Indians have won 9 of their last 10. The last 2 have been against the Boston Red Sox. Play that clock all you want, because I'm talking about
Get 'em out the paint.
My Cleveland Indians. Everybody talking about the Red Sox and the Yankees and the Astros.
Blah,
and
blah,
Oakland,
blah, blah, blah.
Watch the Indians be in the World Series yet again. At least I hope.
Watch out for the drones.
Watch out for the drones. Watch out for the drones, he says. All right, let's continue with more Major League Baseball, and everybody's talking about the Nationals fire sale. What's everybody talking about is brought to you by Lowe's, Pros in the Nose. Start with Lowe's. Go to lowesforpros.com for details. So the Cubs picked up second baseman Daniel Murphy from Washington for a minor league infielder and the ubiquitous player to be named later, or cash. That's kind of like dealer's choice, right?
Isn't it true?
You want a player, or you just want to send money?
Yeah.
How do you
Here's
want to do
some cash
this?
for him.
You decide. Either way, the bottom line is it's going to be Daniel Murphy going from Washington. They've basically punted on the season. They've raised the white flag. They also dealt Matt Adams, who goes back to the Cardinals. But it's interesting. Daniel Murphy goes to Wrigley Field, and the friendly confines have been very friendly to him.
Oh, my gosh. At Wrigley Field, he's hit .413 for his career against the Cubs. Wherever they play, he's hit .325, but obviously in Wrigley, he's hit incredibly well. A guy who started the season injured, only played 28 games before the All-Star break, 28 games after the All-Star break, but those 28 games after have been a lot better, hitting .340 on that OPS of over 900. So he's playing well right now in a lineup that they just keep trying to build with the Cubs to make that run in the postseason. But kind of an interesting move. One even Murphy didn't think was going to happen.
Yeah, well, this is the nature of the waiver trade deadline, which we always make that distinction back around the All-Star break of the non-waiver trade deadline. And now usually these guys clear waivers, and Daniel Murphy thought, I'll clear waivers and it'll be business as usual. This is kind of the weird spot this franchise is in. We thought they might be sellers around the trade deadline. We heard all those rumors about maybe even moving Bryce Harper back then. And this has just been a team going back to the time when they fired Dusty Baker this offseason. I don't think has a clear understanding of what they're going to be going forward. And that's made all the more difficult by the prospect that your franchise player is also a free agent after this
Still
year.
7.5 back of Atlanta leading that division.
Yeah, and listen, Daniel Murphy, you have to love the way he approaches the game, because here's what he said when he found out he had been traded.
It was really bittersweet. I sat at this podium probably 2.5 years ago. The Washington Nationals were the only offer I had. And so they took a chance on me 3 years ago. And I feel very disappointed in myself that it kind of came to this point.
I mean, you want to talk about accountability. And, oh, by the way, he's hitting, 340 since the All-Star break?
Yep.
So he's doing his part, and he's still saying it wasn't enough. And we talked about this when it happened in February. Remember when new Nats manager Dave Martinez brought out those camels?
Right.
Trying to get over the hump and win a playoff series? Like, you have to make the playoffs first. And we were like, let's just worry about making the playoffs first. And then, it looks like they're not going to get there.
Been an underachieving team, and you wondered when that window is slamming shut. And now you see Murphy gone, Bryce Harper going to be that free agent. The pitching staff been up and down with injuries. And then over with the Cubs, they're looking at, seriously, I really thought we were done with this stupid
play that
thing.
button.
The Cubs, a team that's really lacked offensively as of late. So Murphy looking to help there. They've lost 3 in a row, not scoring a lot of runs. So looking to get that little jump by the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm really interested in what the Nats decide to do. This has been a town that's underachieved until this last year. What is the solution here, especially if they end up losing Bryce Harper? If they lose him this offseason, they're going to look back, and this will be considered an unmitigated disaster the way they've handled the transition this year.
Did you just say this is the town that had underachieved in Washington?
Except for.
Yeah! I could play that a million more times.
And I'm sure
Ovi's still having fun with the fact that they won the Stanley Cup for the Cavs. As we continue what's trending, I mentioned this as well. The Nats also sent Matt Adams back to the Cardinals for cash considerations, and the Cardinals suddenly, guys, are only 2.5 games in back of the Cubs in the NL Central. Listen, when they fired Mike Matheny, I was like, this is a ridiculous move. It's turned out to be a great move for them.
Boy, it really is. I mean, they're hitting on all cylinders right now. As you mentioned, 2.5 back. They're the leaders in the clubhouse right now as the first wild card team. So a nice run by them, but still a nice race with the Cubs. Milwaukee 3 back of the Cubs. We keep talking about the races in the National League. I said the Braves up in the East. Phillies only 2 back. I just mentioned in the Central, the West. Diamondbacks at the top right now. Rockies a 1.5 back. Dodgers 3.5. San Francisco dropping out 8.5 back. Looks like Posey been missing games. Got that hip. Probably going to shut it down. I had surgery there, but great races going on in the National League.
Yeah, Posey seemed to wait a while on that one, but I know this is just interesting to me. They beat the Dodgers last night 5-2.
Yeah, Dodgers
and that was a team we talked about, wasn't it? We had Buster on the other day, and we said if there was a team, if you were looking, one that was going to fall off and miss, and he pointed out the Dodgers who had gotten so hot through the month of June with their bats, who brought over Manny Machado and now face the prospect of him being a free agent at the end of the year and them having nothing to show for it in the interim.
Yeah, listen, the Cardinals are 16-4 in August. That's the best record in the bigs. And as you said, they beat the Dodgers by 3 runs. They got 2-run homers, one from Ozuna and one from Yadier Molina. So lo and behold, give the Cardinals front office a lot of credit. They did a lot of things to shake it up, and it is working. As you said, right now in the playoffs, but just 2.5 games back of the Cubs for the lead in the NL Central as we head in close to what will be the final month of the regular season. And then big news going on in Columbus today. Ohio State plans to publicize the findings of the weeks-long investigation involving head coach Urban Meyer and the athletic director Gene Smith and others in the Buckeyes athletic department. A university spokesman confirmed this is all about what they knew and did not know and how they acted about when they heard allegations of domestic violence levied against former wide receiver coach Zach Smith.
So again, they got briefed by this board on Monday by the investigators, of which some of them were on the board, which is somewhat interesting. So briefed then, and then the report comes out today, a verbal report. There'll be one in writing as well. I know that was a point of contention we'll get into as well, but we'll start to know. And as I said yesterday, I think that at most what's going to happen to Urban Meyer is going to be a suspension at most. Gene Smith's going to be interesting, the AD, of where he falls in this, of anybody that's going to be looked at with an eyebrow raised of where the board is going to go and what the punishment they're going to get down, as we are a week away from a full slate of college football games.
Boy, I tell you what, if something were to happen to Gene Smith and not to Urban Meyer or Lesser, wouldn't that show you kind of the way this whole system works? In a way that we already know, but man, your value wins and losses wise to a university and what that would be willing to afford you if you punish the guy going above him and not the coach.
Along those lines, though, let's just throw out this scenario. If in fact Urban Meyer, who basically lied to the media, we know that, he admitted that, he said I didn't portray that well, however he wanted to spin it. He lied to the media.
Which is not an NCAA violation.
No, it is not. But if, in fact, he truly did send it up the flagpole, if he did what he was supposed to do, if he took the information and he sent it up to Gene Smith, and then now it's in Gene Smith's lap to do what it is, would that still be, if in fact he did do that and the investigation found that, would that still surprise you? Here's the head coach. It's not his job to investigate. It's his job to send it up. And I'm just saying, if it's this side of it, there's two sides to everything, but if there's that side of it, and he sent it up where it was supposed to go, and that didn't get handled properly, then I could see that happening.
But I don't think so, because this is different in a way that's been pointed out from the beginning, is this wasn't a case that was involving the abuse of a student or a student athlete or someone who was entrusted to the care of the university. This is about someone who was kept on that staff. And this, to me, has always been more about, have we found out that Urban Meyer knew enough about the situation, mm-hmm. Gene Smith knew enough to where we can say this guy was harboring a serial abuser on the team, because that becomes the headline in all of this.
I agree with that.
I'm not even sure if there's anything Gene Smith could have done if you find this out. Now, if we find out things about certain arrests or instances with the police that were maybe kept from here, then the legality of that comes in. But as far as, and this was something in the beginning that kind of got misconstrued on my end, is what the responsibility of the university is if you've got the spouse of someone that's on staff and employed by you being abused, as opposed to instances we've seen where it's been students on campus, it's been kids on the team, which is a largely different realm.
This doesn't fall under the Title IX category because Zach Smith's spouse is not an employee or attends Ohio State.
So again, this is starting at 9 o'clock this morning, and here's our ESPN Big Ten reporter, Daniel Murphy, basically laying out what's going to happen.
We know that most of the principal parties here spoke with investigators at least once. That's Urban Meyer, Athletic Director Gene Smith, Zach Smith, and Courtney Smith. The trustees were briefed yesterday in an informal meeting by Mary Jo White, the lead investigator, to give them a little leg up on what's going on. Details were sparse coming in out of that meeting, a lot of no comments, but we did learn that details won't always be sparse. We're going to be able to get a full written report that's going to be made public at some point soon after a final decision is reached here at Ohio State. They'll have a full rundown of what happened in the investigation and all of the public records that the investigators used in making their determination.
And I think that last part is very critical because there had been some stories floating out that this was going to be a verbal account, much in the same way the Pepper Hamilton report was displayed or led out to the Baylor University trustees in their situation with Art Briles and the football program, and that led to all kinds of outrage. What do you mean there's no paper trail here?
Exactly.
So I think Ohio State, because it is a public university, is going to go down the right road, making sure that, here are our findings and here's what we found out during this investigation.
Where do you think this thing goes?
It's crazy. I heard, and I don't know how substantial this or not, but the possibility that time already served by Urban Meyer is on the table as far as a level of punishment. And if that's even being floated out into the universe, you wonder if it's going to be anything but a suspension at this point. That seems like where we're leaning in all of this. Again, the further away we get from the beginning, from the genesis of this, and the closer we get to the season, where I think this is a lot easier to, however you want to through this process, explain something away or get into a place where you as a university feel comfortable putting him out there, knowing full well Ohio State's going to be a good football team on the field this year. They're going to be newsworthy throughout the year, and this is going to be something talked about and attached to that every single time you come up.
From the football side, they were AP preseason number 5, and they always have a good football team out there. Urban Meyer hasn't been there since
August 1st,
the beginning of August.
On administrative leave, he was
paid leave, by the way. So if this is time served, then he sat around and got paid, and nothing happened outside of what's going on publicly and being talked about.
But it is interesting, guys, and you brought it up. Everyone is on Urban Meyer for this, and then he came out with that separate statement that said, "No, I did do it." If he did that, I'm not sure this is on Urban Meyer at all. Then it would be on the people above him in the administration.
But again, what's their responsibility in all this if you're not dealing with a school employee or a school, someone attending the school that's a victim in all this? Because again, I look at this, and to me, the most common sense part of this that I have a difficult time explaining away, and people will talk about what Urban Meyer knew and when, how he wrote up the chain of command. Right. The bottom line is, with all of this, you had a number of instances. You had the known incident that Urban Meyer is aware of and acknowledged that went on at Florida. And then you have everything else that's occurred at Ohio State. And then you had the trespassing that occurred this summer that ultimately led to this guy being fired. He is no longer on the staff because he was fired after trespassing. And you've got all of this in tow in the rest of that. And that was the one instance at this one time. And we know there's plenty of other circumstances around the timing of this that feel interesting in all this regarding Urban Meyer and certain mentors and who may or may not be around anymore. You've got all that timing in there. And now this guy doesn't have a job anymore. Like, to me, this is like in Major League Baseball when they suspended that, I forget who it was, for 85 games for the domestic violence.
Osuna.
Osuna. And you bring him in then and you say, well, it wasn't on our watch. Well, he was suspended for a reason by Major League Baseball. That still has to go to court and all that. You've made it clear something wrong was done. You made it clear Zach Smith is not on your staff for a reason anymore. And that to me is the one point that I can't quite reconcile.
Well, that's the part that gets thrown into this. You mentioned who may be around. Listen, Zach Smith's grandfather was Earl Bruce. Right. Earl Bruce was a mentor of Urban Meyer. And there was a lot of people that believe that's the only reason Zach Smith had a job. And once, unfortunately, Earl Bruce passed away, that now Zach Smith, Earl Bruce is not here. He's a mentor of mine. I love the guy. He's not here anymore. Zach Smith is now, we'll find a reason to get him gone because we didn't, there are the thoughts out there that people didn't think much of him as a coach. and that he had that job because he was a grandson of Earl Bruce.
So again, that meeting starts today at 9 o'clock, and as for the timetable on when there might be a resolution, once again, here's our Big Ten reporter, Dan Murphy.
Yeah, that's the big question right now, and there isn't a specific deadline or any type of timetable set for that at this point. They're going to meet at 9 a.m., as you said. Probably shortly after they start that meeting, they're going to adjourn into a behind-closed-doors executive session where they'll really get into the meat of discussing and deliberating what they want to do with anybody who gets implicated in this report. Some of those discussions have likely already started. They won't officially start until that meeting tomorrow. That decision could come as soon as a few hours after that meeting breaks, or could stretch a day or several days into the future.
And again, that was Daniel Murphy on SportsCenter yesterday, so that meeting again in Columbus starts at 9 o'clock this morning.
Golic
and Wingo.
and Wingo.
Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. The Cleveland Browns are becoming very interesting, and they're doing a great job of being interesting for a team that won exactly 0 games last year and won in the last 2 seasons. Obviously, they've been on Hard Knocks. Episode 3 was last night, so that's made them very interesting. Just drafting Baker Mayfield has made them very interesting, and it gets better. Baker Mayfield has now rolled out one of his first endorsements, and it includes a picture of him shirtless in front of a Bentley with a tiger.
Yeah.
For an underwear ad.
And it's an underwear ad.
Yeah.
He has jeans on, but they're kind of down. You can see the underwear, the top of the underwear. No shirt, as you mentioned, the Bentley. And the tiger is the tiger from The Hangover.
Oh, that's actually it?
That is actually the tiger from The Hangover.
Wow.
In the bathroom.
Did you listen to Trey's tease before?
Well, no, I thought he was just joking.
Oh,
I thought
no.
he was just using
I don't
it
ever
for the
joke
tease.
about underwears and tigers.
We do
Those
not
are the two things I never joke
That's exactly
about.
right. If you're going to be serious about anything in life, it's tigers and underwear.
I had underwear with a tiger on the crotch.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go with that.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go with that.
We go on to the next sentence.
Well, so this is interesting though, because you're right. The Browns have been
they're interesting.
Well, they're headline makers in a lot of ways because they have a lot of names that we know now. Before it was just a bad team. Now it's a bad team that's got Jarvis Landry. Josh Gordon's back in the building now. Tyrod Taylor came over, who, say what you want, not like a top 5 quarterback in the league, but a guy that a reliable veteran, a character.
Right.
And then you throw Baker Mayfield on top of it.
Des Bryant was there for a visit. Yeah.
It's all been this perfect ball of interesting, and I thought this was an interesting sentiment yesterday, and I had this comment. Mita Kimes, our ESPN senior writer, said, Baker's got too much personality to be a quarterback in this league. Like, this is a league that sort of squeezes it out of you at that position, and you wonder how this stuff is going to play from a guy who, as people I'm sure at some point will start to turn on and say, what has he done or accomplished?
Listen, you know how this is going to go. By the way, the underwear company that he's repping is owned by Jimmy Butler, Kyrie Irving, and Chandler Parsons. So, and he's out there with no shirt on. That was, as someone tweeted, how can a body kind of look in shape and out of shape like at the same time? When you look at it, it's not, you don't immediately go, wow, that's a pro athlete. Let's be honest.
It's a quarterback body.
Yeah,
it's what I assume the meat of the bell curve of NFL quarterbacks would look like shirtless.
So old man on the porch is normally going to scream in this case, dude. It's already been said by the coach, you are the backup in stone, that Tyrod Taylor is a starter. We know Baker is going to play at some point. You're the backup quarterback and you're out there doing a commercial like this. Why don't you not do any of that? Who did we hear? Who was the quarterback last year? Why is it leaving me now? That said he wasn't going to do anything, had opportunity to do some ads, and it was a Pat Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes said he had opportunities to do some things that he didn't. He was the backup. Alex Smith was the quarterback. He said he was going to wait. Everybody kind of applauded him for that. And now I heard Baker front and center, not going to be the starter in an underwear ad. And I've already seen people saying, know your place as a backup. You shouldn't be trying to get your shine on right now. We're in a different world right now with guys and marketing, men and women in marketing and what they're trying to accomplish. So that doesn't bother me anymore as well. But you do, fairly or unfairly, and a lot of people say fairly, open yourself up to the fact of saying, if you don't play well, you're out here doing all this stuff because everybody thinks pro athletes should be doing their gig 24/7. So you can't take time out for a photo shoot and then do well as a quarterback because the two don't mix then.
Well, look, there's a couple. First, you're right. People think that they should be locked in a room watching film all the time. And for the most part, quarterbacks do that. I remember week 1 what did Hugh Jackson say about Baker Mayfield? Well, why don't you come in when Tyrod comes in? Or, well, he has his own little workout. Where's your little workout?
Right.
So that is part of the process. And it is different, I believe, for quarterbacks than almost any other position. And Bill Parcells, he famously had these rules for being a good quarterback.
Right.
One of them was never be a celebrity quarterback. And whether that's still applicable today is very debatable.
I think it's debatable.
I think it's very debatable, but it also is a fundamental principle, I think, that people want to see. They want to know that their quarterback, whether it's right or wrong or just a complete fallacy, they want that perception to be out there that, yeah, that's what that guy does.
They do, but this is also a guy that's given a lot of other people what they want in their quarterback, which is this confidence. It borders on brash. People have enjoyed, and that's been part of the Baker narrative.
No question.
With him, as I mentioned, him going on with Colin Cowherd and directly confronting a guy that had been critical of him in a way that a lot of people looked at and said, well, Baker won that. They looked at that as a net good for him. This has been a guy who's already overcome that. I remember you guys sitting here when Baker was doing his web series criticizing him for that, and he's overcome that already just by his preseason performance alone, where there was no net negative for that. He's been a guy that has lived in the spotlight and so far not stubbed his toe in any way.
Well, that's exactly right, because what has been one of the comparisons, and a guy who got drafted by the same team in the first round, has been Johnny Manziel. Everybody trying to say don't make that comparison, but it's going to be a comparison. And what we remember from Johnny Manziel is he even admitted he was not ready and he didn't prepare. He's looking at playbooks on flights to Las Vegas.
Right.
And you know what? It showed on the field. Baker Mayfield has given you no reason to believe that he is not prepared, that he is not in command of the huddle, in command of the pocket. Listen, they're rookie quarterbacks and they're going to struggle and all of them are. But as I said, I think all of the rookie quarterbacks have looked pretty good. One thing they've looked good about is their poise and their command. Certainly they're still rookies and learning, but he hasn't given you any reason to say, you know what, don't be doing that extracurricular stuff. But I'm sure there are those in that organization, and probably the head coach being one of them, that would love for him to not be doing that stuff and just be, look to be the eventual franchise quarterback of this team. But we're in a different time now where guys are going to do that. And as long as you back it up, and right now he's given you really no reason to think that he can't back that up now.
What are they all saying? It ain't bragging if you can back it up.
Yeah.
And people, not only is he backing up, people are backing him up and the Cleveland Browns. It is unbelievable what's going on with them, including large amounts of money that are being placed on the Cleveland Browns and their win totals at the sportsbooks. Here's Jay Rude from MGM.
It is a definite phenomenon. Everybody is pounding the Browns. I mean, we only have one liability in the Super Bowl, and that's the Browns. We're getting completely good action across the board on everyone else. If you remove the Browns, I think everyone is very confused as to who they think is really going to step forward in the NFL this year.
Browns are used to being a liability.
Right, that's fair. But, I mean, think about that. Right now, that guy, Jay Root, is saying, we're good as long as the Browns don't win the Super Bowl. That's how much money is being placed right now on Cleveland, not only to get to win a game, to get to the Super Bowl.
Well, every now and then you take a flyer. I mean, that's where you make your money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can make money.
Penny stock, basically.
Without giving up a whole lot of money to make a lot of money. It depends on how you want to go about it. That's the epitome of that extra cash lying around. I'm going to throw it on the Browns and what it could turn into if they pull this thing off, of which nobody believes that they will.
It's funny on the other side of it, though, because they said it used to be the point spreads would be so big in Browns games that you would have sharps, the professional bettors, going and betting on the Browns with the points in those situations because they were so enticed, and the public was just so ensconced in the normal Browns narrative that this is a garbage team. We'd seen them win one game in 2 years and all this stuff. Now it's the other side. It's all the interesting buzz names. This is what happens. If we're given enough names, this happens with the Titans in offseason go. Right. When they bring Eric Decker and all these names that we know in receivers, and we think, oh, yeah, they're going to be good because we know these people. And then that's how a lot of people bet. And not a lot of people are doing this with their heads. And they said now on the other side, you have the public going in on the Browns and all these win totals, and the Sharps are going to be sitting there like, no, we're good. We'll be on the other side of this, even in the score.
Yeah, and not only that, that was Jay Rude, Vice President of Racing Sports at MGM Resorts, on with Freddie and Fitzsimmons. So not only are there massive bets for them to get to the Super Bowl, which is crazy, listen to the win totals that are being bet on right now for the Browns.
So our win total currently is 6, over minus $1.45. We opened 5.5, and it's been going a little bit over. We're starting to draw a little bit under money. the wise guys are going to, keep the betting price a little bit honest. If we were just moving strictly on what the betting public was going to do, we'd probably be at 7.5 at this point. But yeah, everyone's betting the over on the Browns. They think that's probably the steal of the century at this point, is what most people are thinking when they're betting this proposition.
They've won one game in 2 years.
Here's what I would have to say.
Yeah.
Whoa. You're telling me
the Browns are going to win 8 games?
The Browns are 40-1 to win the AFC and 80-1 to win the Super Bowl. That's stunning to me. I thought it would have been way higher odds than that.
And it's amazing. I mean, to set, season win totals and the lines for these, there's a ton of math that goes into it. I mean, these are really smart people that are creating all of this. And I would like to go back because I'm pretty sure I set the Browns win total earlier this spring at 6 games. So you guys can all laud me for my genius in figuring that out.
Basically, you're pulling a Chaz Michaels here. You're welcome, Las Vegas.
Yeah. No, listen, I gave everyone a lead on that. I thought 6 or 7 was going to be the win, so it makes sense. 6.5 would be the line.
Maybe.
For entertainment purposes, if someone, would like to, get some money down on that over.
Let's say betting's legal now. Let's try and make.
In certain states, it's not for entertainment purposes.
Let's make some money. And, we're talking about Baker Mayfield, but maybe the reason why, up there is Tyrod Taylor. Yeah. His passer rating right now is 134. He hasn't been sacked this preseason yet.
Golic.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. Yeah. No doubt about it.
And Wingo.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need help getting to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. And when you need to hire fast, accelerate your results with sponsored jobs. New users can try for free at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Jags wideout Keelan Cole joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here comes the greatest read ever. Get triple action protection for optimal engine performance with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Keelan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Good. So we're all up on Baker Mayfield and his underwear commercial. Where do you stand on the I'll do a shirtless underwear commercial idea?
Hey, I think it's better than him than me. I mean, I haven't got anybody asking me for underwear commercial, so I wouldn't know.
Keelan, I got to ask, because the first thing I thought of is, if that's a guy on your team, how quickly is that picture posted all over the locker room?
I don't know, because that's a common thing. He's not the only one that's done an underwear commercial, so it's not really that crazy anymore.
Well, I would imagine the first person that might chime in would be Jalen Ramsey. And we'll get into his thoughts on quarterbacks a little bit later. But, Keelan, tell us a little bit about yourself, because we were talking earlier today, about the myth that fans believe their quarterbacks should do nothing but football, live, breathe, sleep it all the time, watch film all the time. And yet that's kind of what you do, right? My understanding is you don't do Netflix, you don't do Hulu, you don't do anything. Basically, you just watch tape, right?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part. It's just I feel like you only get so much time to do this thing, which is play football. So, I mean, you might as well go ahead and put all your time into it while it's here, and then when it's done, you can do all the other things.
So I would imagine if there is any kind of TV or something you watch, has to be pretty good for you, since you do it pretty selectively. So are there certain TV shows that you do watch?
I mean, honestly, the only thing I do have is Netflix. So on Netflix, I watch like Planet Earth and stuff like that. Like I like to learn some stuff on my time off. I mean, I watch I try to watch movies, but I never really finish it through. Most of the time, I just fall asleep probably in the first 10 minutes. So, pretty much only Planet Earth is the only thing I can actually watch.
Talking to Keelan Cole, Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver, and I guess coming into that environment down there in Jacksonville is interesting. You're an undrafted guy. I was undrafted. My dad was a late round draft pick.
I was also undrafted. Just want to throw that out there.
Trey Wingo also undrafted. But what was it like coming into this team environment? Because I've heard statements from Jalen Ramsey about coming into a losing environment, but being part of this turnaround now.
Well, I mean, in my eyes, I just came in just knowing that every year is a new year, so there is no losing environment. We knew as a team when we came in that we was going to be pretty much new as a team as a whole because we had new coaches and all. So we just knew this is a chance to start something new. So that's what we worked forward to. We wanted to win the Super Bowl. We put our minds to it, came together as a team and tried to get it done.
Is anything brought up from last year? Is last year's year used as motivation to this year, or is last year just forgotten about and completely new year this year?
I think it's used more for a lesson learned. Not saying that anybody made any mistakes, but that's something personal that everybody has to think about for themselves. Think about what they did last year that maybe held them back just that little much to not get us to the Super Bowl. So we all put something off for the season that might distract us a little bit, and we say we're going to keep working for that until we get that Super Bowl.
Jags wideout Keelan Cole with us this morning on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. By the way, 8th in receiving yards over the second half of last season. Really came on strong. So take us through the mentality of where we are with this team, and specifically the quarterback, Blake Bortles. He's always going to get the criticism, right? He's always going to get, but with Blake Bortles. Tell me what the team feels about your quarterback.
The team's behind him 100%. We don't really listen to anything outside. I mean, of course, I'm one of the maybe I don't know. I'm probably not the only one that doesn't watch any television and stuff like that. So I mean, we don't really get distracted. We all know that there's going to be talk. I mean, just like last year, there was talk, and we get in the season, and we just stayed behind them. The receiving core, we just said we pressing everything, and we made sure that we tried to catch everything, so that way that his name wasn't in anything. We entered this as a team together, and so we just gonna keep working together.
Keelan, I'm interested because obviously you guys support Blake, but is he the leader on the offense? And if not, who's the voice over there? I feel like so often with this team we associate a lot of the voices and the characters with the defensive side of the ball over there. When it comes to your guys' offensive meeting room, who's the voice that you guys look to?
There's not really one voice. I feel like everybody says their opinion when the time comes, and when I feel like that person works at something harder. So I feel like Linder talks. Blake for sure talks. Blake talks to us in the huddle and stuff like that. You know, everybody has their time where they talk. So it's not really just a one-person leader thing. It's everybody who feels like they need to say something at the time can come up and say anything.
And certainly a guy that talks a lot is Jalen Ramsey on that team. So in practice, when you guys are doing a little one-on-one work, does he talk smack in practice to you guys as much as he does against opponents?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it goes back and forth. It goes from across from offense to defense. We try not to do too much of it because we still got stuff to focus on, and we don't want to get out of hand. But we for sure compete on that field, on the practice field for sure. Definitely going against Jalen is real good to compete against somebody like that. Definitely one of the top, maybe if not the top DB in the league. So he's still 2.0 on the practice field.
How good are you at smack talk, though, when you're going back at him?
I don't really do too much. I just laugh. I mean, if I feel like I caught a ball on him that he feel like it wasn't a catch, that's probably as much as I can say. But other than that, I'm not really a smack talker on the field.
Keelan Cole with us, Jags wide receiver, as we get ready for the start of what will hopefully be another successful 2018 campaign for the Jags like it was in 2017, where you came within a few plays of getting to the Super Bowl. We're talking a lot about the Browns because they're on Hard Knocks, and it seems very entertaining. I have to believe that the Jaguars, if they had been the cameras on them, would have almost as been as entertaining with everything that's gone on this preseason with some of the skirmishes that some of the players have got into with members of the local media. What would it be like if the Jags were on Hard Knocks?
I mean, you would see a nice, classy team in my eyes. I feel like everything we do, I mean, it's old school. It's tough. Definitely through camp. Y'all would have seen a nice, hard-working team that was going at it every day and didn't complain about anything.
How much of that you attribute to Doug Marrone, your head coach, who I feel in all of this sort of gets lost? He's an old school guy. He's kind of no nonsense with a team full of as many colorful personalities. What is it about Doug Marrone that sort of steadies the ship?
I feel like it's up to it was up to all the coaches. I feel like we got some nice old school coaches in there. Even my coach included, Coach McCardell. It's just they all work together, and they all work together, and they all say, "Hey, this is what we want. What does everybody think about it?" And then they just go with it, and they push us harder than they push themselves. And I know they're in here longer than us for sure.
Yeah, we're talking to Keelan Cole, wide receiver for Jacksonville, making it into the NFL the hardest way you can, an undrafted free agent out of Kentucky Wesleyan last year, had 42 catches, averaged just under 18 yards per catch. With all that, and we mentioned 8th in receiving yards over the second half of the season, your Madden rating is a 79. How upset are you?
I'm not really upset. I mean, when they came here and told us what they thought, I mean, it was more of a joke, but I'm just glad to be on the game, glad to be on this team, glad to be in this league, glad to play football for a living. So I'm really just grateful for the opportunity to be on the game.
And let's go full circle on the fact that you don't watch a lot of TV or movies. How about in the off season? What do you do in the off season? Do you watch more TV or movies then, or do other stuff?
For sure, I watch a little bit more. I get more time to watch all the new movies that came out. I like watching Marvel movies and stuff like that. I like the longer movies. So like I get my money's worth at the theater. So. But other than that, I'm pretty much working out at the facility and trying to do something to either get myself better or healthier. So I'm always thinking of football, honestly, off the field. All
right, so you did mention, though, you go to the movie theater at times. Yesterday we had a question come up. When you go into a theater, we've all done it. You can be honest about it. What have you taken into the movie theater as far as maybe food from the outside or drink from the outside and snuck it into a theater?
Oh, I mean, I just feel like the packs aren't that big, so I go to the dollar store and get a king-size Twizzler pack.
There you go.
Bring in, so that way I don't have to continue to go back and forth because I eat through Twizzlers during the movies.
The king-size Twizzler pack. Listen, here we are. We're trying to get Keelan Cole in all kinds of trouble. Come on, what do you think about this? Yeah. He's having none of it, man. By the way, Doug Marrone is so proud of you right now. You have the blinders on and you are completely focused.
Good job.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, listen, it was an unbelievable – let's finish it up with this. It was a crazy season last year. You guys made it to the AFC Championship game. Had the lead in the fourth quarter with about 10 minutes to go in Foxborough. So the Jaguars' 2018 season will be a success if?
We continue to do what we're doing.
Oh, Doug Marrone is so proud of you.
He is so
Doug
proud.
Marrone is so proud of you right now.
Is.
Keelan, get back into watching tapes and renew that Netflix subscription for the offseason, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Keelan Cole with us.
Golic and Wingo.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold.
It's very interesting where that went.
Golic and Wingo with you, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. You can get in touch with us, 1-800-Flowers.com, Twitter feed at Golic and Wingo, or as you'll hear from Brett soon, 860-506-5505. And you may have missed this next story while you were sleeping, and it's brought to you by Tempur-Pedic. Loved by our owners and ranked highest in computer satisfaction with mattresses by J.D. Power. Find out why at TempurPedic.com. And Junior, I heard you talking about this on the way into work this morning, and I think you're right. This is going to be really interesting what the ramifications are for this. Now we see how it's being played out in college football. Let's set it up here. There's a former linebacker at Texas A&M who has applied for a waiver to play right away at Arizona. And there's a new law in college football that is it just football and baseball as well?
Football and baseball.
That basically says if they're mitigating circumstances.
Let me read the rule.
Explain.
This came about in June under new transfer legislation. This Santonio Marshall, a linebacker from Texas A&M, transferred to Arizona. Normally, you have to sit for a year transfer unless you're a graduate student. Anything lower than that, you're going to sit for a year. This new legislation basically is saying under these circumstances, you can play right away. Under new transfer legislation passed in June by the NCAA, a player may get a waiver for immediate eligibility if the transfer is due to documented mitigating circumstances that are outside the student-athlete's control and directly impact the health, safety, and well-being of the student-athlete. So this guy transferred, and when he went out the door, Mike, he kind of said some things that would help him fit into this new legislation to have him play right away.
So he was a freshman last year at Texas A&M with Kevin Sumlin. Kevin Sumlin's now at Arizona.
Right.
You can put it together. He's trying to follow Kevin Sumlin out of the door here. Didn't want to stick around in this new regime for Jimbo Fisher for whatever reason. We don't know that. But brought up, he said he was given a few $100s. Now, this was under the last regime. Said he was given $300 on one instance, $400 on another instance to take care of recruits, to take out recruits on unofficial visits.
Which would be an NCAA violation.
Which would be an NCAA violation. You get a certain stipend if you're hosting a recruit as an official visit. It's like $40 for a weekend, something like that.
This was unofficial visit, and he said he was given hundreds of dollars.
He said he was given that. He also said that he was forced to play through or work out through an ankle injury in the summer. Said that this current staff, Jimbo Fisher and company, had gone over their hours totals as far as working out in the summer, had gone over in that regard. So brought all this up in an effort to use this technicality. And this is the thing when it comes to that grad transfer rule too, the technicality there, because it's not just you can transfer freely wherever you want. It's, well, you can transfer to a school that offers a graduate program that your current school doesn't offer.
Right.
There's always these little stipulations. And so when you make people play the game, sometimes they play it better than you.
So basically what's going on here is this guy is trying to, and right now it's still, if Brett, last you checked, he still has not been reviewed. He has not been decided whether he meets this criteria or not. So this brings up the larger question now, and be very interested at Golic and Wingo what people think about this. We keep talking about players, are being used for the colleges that are making billions and millions and billions of dollars in colleges, millions of dollars. They get nothing in return. They can't make any money. So give them their freedom, let them transfer and play right away. And so the NCAA did that under these mitigating circumstances. So now, what do we think of players if they want to play right away, starting to kind of, let out what's going on a little bit? Because there may be some people that say, well, wait a minute, that school and those coaches are doing illegal things. Those players are just bringing it up. Again, a few $100s for unofficial visits. That's illegal. If there's a 2-hour practice and they're going 3 hours or more, that's not supposed to be happening. There's also a workout stipulation. You can't work out the student athlete from after 9 at night before 6 in the morning. They had captains workouts at 5:30 in the morning. So again, against the rule, but one of those things you kind of just say, okay, this is no big deal. So are we okay with student athletes bringing up these types of things? And I'm sure some people will be. Say, yeah, bring it to light that these guys are cutting corners and cheating a little bit, and let the players go play somewhere else if they want to play somewhere else.
But this isn't altruism. It's not like this player is a whistleblower for the sake of shedding light on this cause. The one thing in there that was interesting was
he's using it he wants to use it for his own benefit.
Right. The one thing
which I have no problem with, by the way.
Well, I guess this is it. Like, the one thing in there that would be interesting and to me worthwhile is if the athletic training staff wasn't taking proper care of a guy's injury, that's the one thing you hone in on and saying, all right, that's a serious detriment if guys aren't being cared for properly. But all this basically points to the NCAA didn't want to go full bore and say you can transfer without penalty.
Right.
They wanted to get a rule in there that gave the appearance that they were, giving you progress. And they got called on it. They got called to the mat by something the coaches aren't going to stand for now. This rule's going to change quick. Coaches don't want to deal with this.
And really quickly, because you did mention the one that is the important thing. If you feel that your injury wasn't treated properly, you said he had a bad ankle, said the trainer gave him 4 ibuprofen and said go back and practice. He continued running sprints, practiced for the rest of the week, and his ankle stayed bad and was swollen and blown up, so he doesn't feel he was treated right. That's so his well-being there. So that was one of the things he brought up as well.
Listen, you say, Junior, that, this will change very quickly. If it does, that almost makes it worse, right? That almost makes it worse. Well, we can't have that because look what happens, and some things may be found out of us, so let's quickly erase that. I feel like that would make it even worse. People are like, well, wait a minute. Why are you doing that now? I agree they probably want to, but if that happens that quickly because of something like this, it's just going to stink even more.
I mean, but this is how the game goes. Like, this is who calls the shots in college football. We always say, well, it'd be so difficult to change all these things. No, it's difficult because they don't want it to happen. When it's something that people want to happen, it is amazing how quickly the winds of change turn.
So I guess my question out there, so we were in it in doing this. For those out there that weren't, do you have a problem with a player? Now, again, he's not doing this to, I'm here to help all the other players, because we're out there a half hour early or have to work out
this
a
is
half
for
hour
himself.
longer. This is for himself. Do you have an issue with that? Do you have an issue with a guy doing it this way? Because, listen, you and I have been part of this. Having a 2-hour practice that's supposed to be 2 and goes longer than that. Going, practicing at 5:30 in the morning, for those morning drills and doing those things. The little things like that coaches will get away with and players will do without even batting an eye because you want to be a good player as well. You're willing to do some of that extra stuff. So you wouldn't even think about saying anything. Now, if you had an injury that wasn't treated correctly, certainly that's something you would bring up. But those other things that are brought up to help him play somewhere else, would you have a problem with that? I'm really interested to know if people are out there saying, yeah, screw that school. The player should have the right to go play where he wants. And if he has to whistle blow a little bit to get what he wants, so be it. Or, hey, man, what are you doing? I mean, come on. You're trying to get this program in trouble for a half hour earlier workout or an hour more of a workout. I wonder where people will go with this.
I feel like we've gotten a bit more empathetic to the player side as of late.
Yes.
Would you not?
Yes.
That's the one thing as we've had, because we had that pay for play argument, seems like once or twice a year.
Yep.
And as we've gone on, a lot more people have warmed up to the idea. And so it's interesting because I look in this situation, it's one of those things where I always ask people, what would you do? Like if this is your future and you're that kid and you've got a chance to get on the field now, you've got a limited window of time to go do this. How are you not going to max that out? You're really, in my mind, just exposing flaws in the system as opposed to anything else. Like this is a flaw in the system if you are put it and all of a sudden you've got this loophole. It's a leverage play.
Already, you hear from people who say, oh, these kids are soft. If it's not going well for them, they just want to transfer somewhere else. My thought on that is you got 5 years, man. Yeah. You got 5. In a rare case, you have 6 years. But you basically have 5 years to do your thing. So if you feel you need to move around occasionally, so be it. You move around occasionally.
Look, you're exactly right. Are they saying coaches are soft when they leave to take a better deal for more money?
Yeah. Well, how many times has Taggart moved in the last couple of years?
He's coached 3 teams or 4 teams to bowl games and only be able to coach them in one of them because he moved on. So. By the way, you guys were making incredibly lucid points on a very interesting and layered and nuanced topic. I wasn't watching any of it or listening to any of it because someone has photoshopped on our Twitter feed Junior's face over Baker Mayfield in the underwear ad.
Oh, there you go.
It
Allie
is phenomenal.
Allie
did that.
Okay.
So really,
nice.
You guys were insightful, interesting, intelligent, curious. Didn't hear a word of it.
Lost it.
I was just looking at Junior's face on Baker's body with the Tiger and the Rolls Royce, not the Bentley.
And I'd be able to make money off my underwear ad now because I'm no longer a student athlete.
Oh,
hey,
see, there you go. So,
there you go.
Mike, you think this rule changes?
Oh, in a hurry. And I mean, they'll be able to sweep it because we're almost to the season, so this won't come up until after the season.
Do you think this player wins the waiver and is able to play this year?
That's going to be the real one because it changes quickly if they decide this is going to go through, which I have to imagine the attention that this is going to draw. They're probably going to pass this through and try and get this done in a hurry too, right?
Well, we'll see. And then that may raise some more questions about why exactly are we changing this now? Golic and Wingo remind you to grab your tickets for the Northern Trust in Paramus, New Jersey for Friday, August 24th. Come watch our show before taking in a day of championship golf. All right, coming up, they say there's always another fish in the sea, but for us, there's only one. That's our researcher, Brett, who tells us the etymology of phrases like, there are other fish in the sea, in a segment we call, and you know, as Bretymology.
Golic and Wingo.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father. To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
It's the game show segment that's captivating a nation.
The origin is Latin, and it has been sort of corrupted over time. Like this show.
Making everyone that hears it smarter.
In the 1800s, English authors were likely to partake in opium den activities.
Now, with your host, researcher Brett.
Take a guess where that came from. Brett's got your answer.
It's Bretymology.
Here are the categories. Words and their meanings. That's straightforward.
Sports Center brought to you by Odor Eaters. It's summer. We're all about to be very active and on our feet this season, so make sure you tackle foot odor before it starts with new Odor Eaters Charcoal Foot Scrub. Pick some up at Walmart, CVS, Kroger, or Dollar General. Start fresh. Stay fresher with odor eaters.
All right, here we go. It is time for Bretymology, where our researcher Brett comes up with some phrases that we all use, and we have to figure out where they began and how they got there. Here are the official Bretymology standings. Hot Take Collins remains perfect. 4 for 4, 100%.
Right.
I am now up to 72%.
It's really impressive.
Thank you, sir. 43
really
for
is.
60.
Yeah.
Jason Fitz, 67%, a smaller sample, 8 for 12. Junior, 21 of 40 at 53%. You are right down the middle, my man.
Yeah.
50%, 30 for 60.
I'm average.
And Meanakim's Chris Canty and Adnan are also 52 for 4. Jeff Saturday and Field Yates, who will join us later, by the way, lowering up the totem pole at 1 for 4. Okay, Brett, what is our first phrase?
Wait for the other shoe to drop.
Aha!
Is it from Las Vegas? Blackjack tables specifically. Casinos began implementing multi-deck shoes in the 1960s as a way to combat card counting in blackjack, which was relatively easy to do when it was one deck per table. Those who felt that the cards were not on their side in the new format would simply stop betting, waiting for another shoe of cards to drop in the hopes that their luck would swing back with it. The practice died out fairly quickly when people discovered the odds didn't actually change, but the phrase stuck around. Or is it from apartment buildings in the 19th and 20th centuries New York City? Probably heard of it. Tenement-style housing made for identical floor plans stacked on top of one another. Waiting for the other shoe to drop is a reference to your upstairs neighbor. When they get home and take off their shoes, you can hear one of them hit the floor, so you know that the next one is close behind it.
And again, one of those is fake. So once again, Brett, you're a genius.
The Vegas one is so good. I always thought it was better odds if you had more decks, but it turns out it's not, because I like the 6-deck shoe. I'm going to go with 2, though. I think I'm going with 2.
Yeah, I just feel like that's one of those phrases that have been around a long time. Yeah. So I think it's a tenement housing thing, too. I'm going 2.
All right, we're fading Golic, so we're all going with 1.
You're going 1? Yeah.
Number 2.
Hey, there you go. Off and running. All right.
Check.
Your next phrase, wild goose chase.
Wild goose chase.
Is it from Jonathan Davis's 1909 outdoorsman brochure entitled Hunting of Bow and Rifle, a Small Game Trapping Guide? In a section on Appalachian bird hunting, Davis warns against the tall task of going after Canadian geese because, as we are all intimately aware from ESPN's campus, geese are really mean.
That's true. That is true.
Quote, despite their attractive size, pursuing wild geese can be an ineffective or even dangerous chase, as the flock will attack a man or a large hound who disturbs its nesting ground. Or is it a 500-year-old sport? The wild goose chase originated as a strange equestrian event in the 1500s, which was written up in the 1593 book, A Discourse of Horsemanship. The rules of the event are laid out in a very long, very confusing passage, but it's a race in which the horses are arranged in a V formation to imitate migrating geese in the air, and various point totals are awarded for the horses in the back passing those in front of them.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
A brochure?
A brochure, something from the 1500s.
I'm going 2. I'm going with the old one.
You know,
I don't feel good about it.
That first one was so detailed.
It was.
But he does this thing where he'll do like 3 in a row that are 1.
Yeah.
One number not there. I think I'm going 2.
We think that second one was horse you know what. We're going 1.
We're going 1.
Number 2.
Yay! There we go.
We're getting dumped on.
There you go. The room is getting destroyed.
2 more.
Train of thought.
We've never had one of those on this show, so I'm very curious as to how this works out.
Is it from the legendary English philosopher Thomas Hobbes, who is responsible for a variety of concepts that still underlie modern society, especially politics? Hobbes lays out the concept of the train of thought in his masterpiece, Leviathan. Quote, by consequence or train of thoughts, I understand that succession of one thought to another, which is called, to distinguish it from discourse in words, mental discourse. Or was it coined by friend of the program, Bill Shakespeare? In his 1594 play, The Two Gentlemen of Verona, the character Proteus addresses his love interest and tells her that basically she's ruining his life. Quote, thou, Julia, thou hast metamorphosed me, made me neglect my studies, lose my time. War with good counsel set the world at naught, made wit with musing weak, heart sick with train of thought.
Again, one of those is fake.
He can throw together a rhyme, can't he?
Well, Bill Shakespeare, we're not sure if he existed. So
Stop it. I'm going with one, though. I'm not going with Bill on this one.
I like the word Leviathan in anything.
I do, too.
I'm going one.
Yeah. What are you guys doing?
What do you got?
Yeah. I guess we're going to keep fading Golic. We're going to go with Billy Shakespeare, number 2.
Number 1.
Yeah! Yeah! All right, you guys are being shut out. We're both 3 for 3. Woo! Old guys, baby.
The smart guy out.
Oh, yeah.
One more.
Your final phrase, dead ringer.
All right.
Whoa.
Is a dead ringer a legend more than 200 years old? A rumor spread in England in the early 1800s about people being accidentally buried alive and later found with scratch marks inside the coffin.
Oh.
The fear of being buried alive resulted in an invention called the safety coffin, where a bell above ground was tied to the corpse's wrist so that if they were not in fact dead, their movement would ring the bell, which is also where we get the term saved by the bell. The coffins were never actually used, but a dead ringer became a slang term for somebody who was so convincingly dead that they could be buried alive. Or
in a minute, we only have a minute.
Is it a horse racing term from the late 1800s? First, we have to understand the words involved. Ringing, in this case, has nothing to do with bells, but ring was a synonym for exchange. Dead was not life or death, rather exact. So a dead ringer was a horse that was secretly subbed in for another horse in a race, but it looked enough alike that nobody would notice.
I want it so bad to be the corpse is buried with a string around its wrist, but I don't believe it. I'm going with 2.
I have heard of this before. I think it's 1.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's 1.
Golic Jr. thinks it's 1 as well. Yeah. So in continuing fading Golic, we're going 1.
Number 2.
Yes! Perfect! 4 for 4.
Woo! Woo!
Wow.
Woo!
Good job out of you.
Woo!
We have today's winner. Congratulations. Well done, Golic. The Room, you're terrible.
Golic
Makes me want to vomit and then punch you square in the face.
and Wingo.
Oh, he's saucy today. Well, we are delighted to be joined now on Golic and Wingo by LA Galaxy forward Zlatan Ibrahimovic, 15 goals in 19 appearances for the Galaxy, and of course, world-renowned for his play in the English Premier League, as well as with Paris Saint-Germain and for the Swedish national team. Zlatan, thanks for being here. How are you today?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So far, so good. Everything is good, actually.
Everything is good. How would you describe the transition of you from playing at the levels of Manchester United and Paris Saint-Germain to playing for the MLS and the LA Galaxy?
I think I came in a different circumstances because I came back from an injury. I didn't play for almost a year. And I appreciated a lot that I got the opportunity to come over to U.S. to play my game here and give me the chance to show the world that I'm still alive. So I'm happy for that. I'm good. I'm settling in, and I'm enjoying.
Well, listen, they're enjoying having you as Zlatan and the Galaxy take on LAFC at the StubHub Center Friday, August 24th at 7:30 p.m. live on ESPN. Season tickets for the Galaxy available at lagalaxy.com. So you are on the verge of a very important milestone, Zlatan. You are 2 goals away from 500 professional goals. Only Ronaldo and Messi can make that claim. Now, what would making 500 professional goals mean to you?
I think it would mean a lot because as a striker, you want to score a lot of goals. You want to score goals to help your teammates, to help your team win, make your fans happy, give the right results, and the striker has a lot of responsibility by making that come through. So my job is to score goals, create chances, and help my teammates. And I had this thing when I was young. People said, like, Kiki is not able to score. He is a good player, but doesn't score a lot of goals. And I'm 2 goals away from 500. So let's see who my victim will be for that number.
Yeah, I don't think you should take any advice from that guy who said you would never score, because clearly that is not the
Always
case.
Believe in yourself.
Yes.
Believe in your skills.
Listen, you like to announce your presence with authority, for lack of a better term. You called yourself the Lord of Los Angeles. What has been the most eye-opening thing about coming to Los Angeles?
I think everything has been positive. I feel welcome. People accepting me with open arms. And not only me, also my family. So I'm just coming here, being myself, and doing what I'm good at, playing the game that I love.
and that's football, soccer, how you call it. So everything has been positive.
It certainly has, as you and the Galaxy take on LAFC at the StubHub Center Friday, August 24th, 7:30 p.m. live on ESPN. That's Pacific time, 10:30 Eastern time. Zlatan, you are a larger-than-life personality. It seems like you enjoy the give and take with the press. They asked you about your driver's license, and there were a couple of questions you didn't get, and you said, "I do not miss. The questions were bad." What do you enjoy about the give and take talking to people like us?
I'm trying to be myself, and you ask a stupid question, you get a stupid answer. You ask a good question, you get a good answer. So I'm just answering by being myself, what I believe in, what I think is correct or not. If it's good or not, that we have to see afterwards. But I'm just being myself, and this is not me pretending to be somebody I'm not. So I don't believe in those things. You should be yourself and say openly what you think, and be yourself.
Yeah, it's working for you, just so you know. That being yourself thing is working out for you. You seem to have a thing that people gravitate towards. As we said, close to 500 goals. Is there one goal that's more memorable to you than anything else in your career?
I think every goal is important in his own way. But the one against England I enjoy a lot because they were talking bad, let's say, for 10 years, and I gave them a goal they will remember for the rest of their life. So this I will enjoy.
For those that don't know, that was in the Euros that year, and it was an insane bicycle kick from outside the penalty area, one of the greatest goals you'll ever see in your life. You also scored...
Most beautiful goal ever made on a football pitch, and it was made by me.
Yes, it was. There was also a very moving goal scored by you in Paris Saint-Germain in 2015. You were involved with a charity called 805 million names, which it refers to any one time. Yes. 805 million kids are hungry in this world. And you scored that, and you took off your jersey, and you had tattooed temporarily a bunch of names of kids on your jersey to raise awareness. Why was that important to you?
That was important because when I do things, this is the first thing I do, like publicly, open for the world, like for charity. Because I don't like to do things and people tell me, hey, he's a good guy because he helps charity, he does that. I do it if I believe in it. And this, I was the messenger. I was not the one that made the difference. So this was about the hunger, 805 million people suffering from hunger in the world. So I tattooed 55 names on my body, and it was real names from people suffering from hunger. So I said the best way to show the world is when I'm on the big stage. And I was, and took 2 years to do it. And in the end, so we made up to 70%, everything planned. The last 30% was what will happen in the game. We don't know. Maybe I get injured. Maybe I don't play. Maybe I get substituted. We don't know. And the best scenario was score goal and show the world the name. 2 minutes, I scored a goal. And they said, don't take it out because you will get a yellow card. And I said, no, this is more important than me getting suspended or me getting fined because the world needs to know. And I took off the shirt and I showed the world all these names, people suffering from hunger. And this was my message to the people that can make the difference. So I'm just the messenger. And I let them use me, my name, my body to see it. So I don't do things because I want people to say he's a good guy because he donated 100,000 to a charity. He donated this so people can point the finger and say, hey, this guy is doing good things. I do those things, but without people knowing it, because then you do it because you want to do it. And not like many people out there, they do things just to have a good image, positive image, so people would say, hey, he's a good guy. I don't need that. I know who I am. And I know what I'm doing. Well,
it was quite a moving experience. I remember seeing that in 2015. Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
It was beautiful.
Yes, it was. Joining us this morning. And don't forget, Zlatan and the Galaxy take on LAFC Friday, August 24th, 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern on ESPN. Okay, when LeBron James came to L.A., you put out a tweet, L.A. now has a Lord and a King. Welcome, LeBron. Have you had a chance to speak with LeBron yet?
No, I didn't meet him. And he didn't meet me yet, so... same thing.
Now, are you looking forward to that?
I mean, I enjoy him playing. I don't know the person, so I'm not the one who should talk or in that. I get questions, I answer about him, so nothing more than that. I enjoy athletes that are phenomenal in what they're doing. But it's not because we are phenomenal that we know each other or we need to meet. So I just enjoy him play, and let's see when he starts to play. If I have time, I will go there and enjoy his game.
Well, listen, that would be an unbelievable meeting if we could get the two of you together. That would be a lot of fun. Zlatan, you did not play in the World Cup this year. What was the reason you decided not to play for the national team?
But what people don't understand, I retired from the national team 2 years ago before the World Cup.
Right.
So I was not even involved. So all the talks and that I enjoyed because it made me feel I'm still in the picture. But the truth was I got the question. They were calling me and they were asking, what do you think? What do you feel? Can you play? And I said no from the first moment, from the first question I got. So it was not even in the picture that I was going to the World Cup. So, but I enjoy while it was talks about it, and I played the game.
Yeah.
But I was not even in the picture for it. It was never my intention to go to the World Cup because I retired 2 years before the World Cup.
Right. The World Cup final pitched France against Croatia. Your mother is of Croatian descent, and Paul Pogba is one of your best friends. Was that a difficult match to watch, or did you have a rooting interest?
I'm a sports fan. I like to see beautiful football. The best team will win. So, of course, my mother being Croatian, I support him in that way. And for Paul Pogba as being my friend, I support him in that way. So whoever won, I would have the same happiness. So for me, it didn't matter. The only thing was if I would play with Sweden, we would win. So that's the difference.
I tend to believe you on that one. There's no question. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is with us. Okay, you are a larger-than-life personality, so let's play a little fill in the blank. The best football player not named Zlatan is who?
Ronaldo, the phenomenal.
Right, Ronaldo. Your best feature and attribute is what?
My best feature and attribute. Who could that be? My nose.
Your nose?
That came from the background here.
Hey, go with it, man. I'll believe it.
Okay.
All right, we'll go with the nose. Your favorite athlete that is not a soccer player is?
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali. Very cool. You once famously said a World Cup without Zlatan is a World Cup not worth watching. So a world without Zlatan would be what?
Nothing to enjoy.
And finally, if Zlatan were a superhero, who would you be?
He is himself now, so Zlatan.
There you go. That's the best possible answer, and once again, you're being yourself. Zlatan Ibrahimovic of the LA Galaxy. Hey, thanks for being with us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or just ask your smart speaker to play Golic and Wingo. Plus, you can check the guys out live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.
Ricky always wanted to play baseball in the majors. He was playing catch before he could walk, practically lived in the batting cages. He was behind home plate more than he was home. And one day, after all that hard work, he found himself walking into a Major League Baseball stadium. After buying a ticket at the front gate, a nosebleed seat obscured by a pole, but he was in there. No, Ricky never did play in the big leagues, but he did switch his car insurance to Geico, proud partner of Major League Baseball, which saved him a lot. So, all in all, things were good.